Charles Barkley has had a long and successful career which helped him get into the broadcasting role he has today. But from having a reputation of sorts to being on Michael Jordan's hate list, here are some shocking facts about Barkley you probably didn't know about him. Starting with how his words tend to get the better of him. It's true, guys. He has a bad history of insulting people. In case you didn't know, Barkley has made threatening remarks against and about women, followed by an apology and a claim that he was joking. This happened while he was playing for the Philadelphia 76ers in 1990. He told reporters after an overtime victory that this is a game where, if you lose, you go home and beat your wife and kids. He then pointed out how happy his wife was when he won, since it meant she won't get hurt today, but later quickly realized how bad his joke sounded and apologized. You could even try to look past this if this was his first time saying comments like this, but it wasn't. As an Emmy Award-winning analyst on the Turner Sports program inside the NBA on TNT, Charles enjoyed making jokes about women. One time he went on record to say that he thinks ladies from San Antonio are overweight and unattractive. Barkley even admitted that he's biased against girls playing basketball, and that the Golden State Warriors' fast-paced three-point shooting offense during their championship runs was little girly basketball. He tried to make the situation better by saying he loves and adores women's basketball, but apparently he just doesn't want it in the NBA. I guess it's just another day of Barkley saying things without thinking them through. For someone who's gotten in trouble with the law many times himself, nobody expected him to make such comments. Because back in 1997, he was arrested for assaulting a man. Just when you think it couldn't get any worse, Charles threw a man through a bar window and claimed that the man had it coming. Well, nothing good has come out of him setting foot inside a bar. And after the man allegedly threw a glass of ice at him in an Orlando pub, Barkley threw him out of a plate glass window. According to the police report, the star then told the victim he deserved what happened, and that he wished he'd actually been injured. Thankfully, the 20-year-old George Lugo only suffered a slight cut to his upper right arm. Barkley was accused of aggravated battery and passive resistance to arrest. He spent 5 hours in jail before being freed after Clyde Drexler, a fellow player and friend, posted bail for him.
Stupid basketball. And all those guys out there made my life great. And I just want to thank the older guys, because if it weren't for the older guys, we wouldn't be who we were.
Now, it's important to note that this wasn't Barkley's first or last fight. He has a history of punching people, and his temper has almost always led to him being arrested. He even claimed at one point that he's lost count of how many times he's been in the back of a cop car. Still, the most surprising thing is he almost always gets away with things. But that rule doesn't apply to the last incident on our list, considering he's also served jail time for a DUI. How many is that now? Well, on New Year's Eve in 2008, police detained Charles Barkley after he ran a red light. And when the officer pulled him over, his excuse was even more iconic. He said that he ran the light because he was in a hurry to get home with a girl he had just met. The story could have ended there, and the Hall of Famer could have walked away with a fine and a few news articles about him. But things quickly took a turn for the worst when the cop got suspicious that Barkley was driving under the influence. After a quick test, the cop reported that his blood alcohol content was 0.149%, almost double the 0.08% limit allowed by Arizona. And in true Charles Barkley style, he even tried to bribe the police officer, but his methods weren't that effective. It turns out that the officer was not interested in the basketball star getting his name permanently inked on his body in exchange for dropping the DUI charge. Barkley was fined more than $2,000 and was sentenced to 5 days in jail, as well as mandatory participation in an alcohol education program. He was also required to have an ignition interlock device installed in his automobiles as required by Arizona law. He definitely started off his new year with a bang.
Man, if y'all put something in my mouth,
No.
I'm
Come on.
hey.
That's donut number one.
Donut number one, ladies and
Try it.
Yeah, of course.
No, just...
Okay. Wait, don't say what it is yet. Wait, don't say it. Put it back.
Now, you would all think he's friends with everyone, Michael Jordan for instance, but apparently that's not the case, because MJ most definitely hates him. Earlier, Barkley revealed that he always thought of Jordan as one of his closest friends. However, all of that just changed overnight. The GOAT just stopped talking to him around 10 years ago, and since then, there hasn't been any contact between the two. Jordan was apparently ticked off by something Barkley said about him after becoming a broadcaster. Apparently, Charles criticized something MJ did. The six-time NBA champion didn't appreciate that and decided to cut all ties. But the thing is, was their friendship ever really as strong as we thought? Because there's no way a small comment on a sports broadcast could have broken that. And if you ask us, we don't think that the two were ever compatible as friends to begin with. Why? Well, because Charles doesn't know how to sugarcoat things. Jordan might have a big ego, but also Barkley doesn't care about what other people might say either. Ever since he became a broadcaster, one thing that has stood out about the former Philadelphia player is that he doesn't hold back. If he has something to say, you better believe he'll say it. But guess what? This is just him acting on some of the advice he received from others. In the podcast, he shared that when he was transitioning from being a player to a career in the media, he was advised to not care about what people say. According to him, he's just been following that principle in his career. And to be honest, it has worked for him too. Now, he does have some other bad habits that have cost him quite a lot. For instance, his gambling addiction, which cost him millions. Becoming a renowned celebrity comes with its own cons, and the biggest one is addiction. Even Charles wasn't safe from the temptation. But how did he get into this gambling addiction? Barkley was never a low-key player. As an NBA superstar, he'd make the headlines a lot of times and sometimes for controversial stuff. But as a professional, his skill was undeniably good. And he made a lot of money out of that skill, like millions. Once you're earning that much money, it's almost difficult to not get into a bad habit. Like any other average human, Barkley found himself falling deeper into a bad habit that he had developed. When you've got all that money to spend, a gambling addiction is almost predictable. In fact, he's done so much of it that he lost nearly a third of his net worth to it. He admitted to spending millions of his money on gambling back in 2016 in an interview with Graham Bensinger. The revelation wasn't all that surprising, considering that gambling's an old tradition for NBA stars, which is something we all found out once Michael Jordan got into a huge controversy around it. But why does this tradition even exist? Is it because it's got the same kind of competition, or because the stakes are very high? Maybe it's because the players get used to the adrenaline, and then they find themselves getting into bad habits which give them the same feeling. So yeah, it's pretty understandable. Wrapping things up, those are all the shocking facts about Charles Barkley you all need to know. See you in the next video.
I told you, this is going to be the best trade deadline ever this year.
You think so?
Best trade deadline ever. Hey, Chuck, can I get a Lakers a compliment?
Sure, you got 20 seconds.
You know how much I hate the Lakers, we show them all the time.
10
Great
seconds.
trade. Great trade getting,
Rui Hachimura.